Hey everyone, it's Joe. We're live here. It's Monday afternoon, July 31st, 2017. Got a little free time, so I wanted to jump on our favorite new medium, which is the Facebook live stream, just to connect with you, talk about a couple of things that can really help you in your journey to finding the love that you desire and deserve. So for those of you who are here for the first time, welcome. For those of you watching this live, we're going to hold off a little bit as a couple of people trickle in. The way these live streams work is, generally if it's going to be quick, I'm just going to pop on in the afternoon, say, hey, I'm going to be live in a few minutes, catch me if you can. If it's going to be something more of substance, like 45 minutes, an hour, a half hour, what I'm going to do is I'm going to schedule that. And so the goal is to kind of, give you a little bit a couple of tidbits during the week, and then one, like really something of substance that really help you go deep. So today's one of those little tidbits that we're just going to be short, quick, and concise. So as always, for those of you who are joining us, please introduce yourself, say where you're calling in from. I see some of you already know the routine. Hit that like button, hit the little hearts as they go by. What happens on this end, I see that. Lets me know that I'm not talking to the walls. Lets me know there are actual live people out there that we can engage and interact with. And that's what lights me up. That's what, inspires me. It helps me to know where I need to focus on how I can help and support you on your journey. So right now I see Debbie's here. So I see there's a lot more people than Debbie. So if you can just say, hey, Joe, Helene's here, Helene from DC. So just tell me where you're calling from. Again, why I love these mediums is we can literally connect with each other from anywhere in the world. Like, modern technology is freaking amazing. And so the fact that we can sit here and really, really connect, like here, Nina from Ireland, Crystal from Oklahoma, this is so cool. I just love this. So that being said, those of you who are coming in, Tammy, Frankfurt, look at this. So we've got our European people in the house, and that's cool, probably because the time zones are more conducive to later in the day, later in the evening. So that's why I want to switch this up as well, because I don't always want to be conducive to certain people in certain time zones. So Bradenton, Florida, hope of tropical storm Emily, sorry to hear it, but again, there's a beautiful thing. So today we're just going to get right into it. Today we're going to talk about the importance of having healthy, clear, and concise boundaries. I can tell you one of the things that will help make your journey a lot easier in your love life is to have clear and concise boundaries. So what do I mean by that? Because again, we throw all these words around and we think we know what it means, and we're not really sure. And I hear all the time that I'm clear on what I want, but then I'll talk to a woman and it's clear she doesn't stick to her boundaries, she doesn't hold them, and that's part of the problem. So having boundaries is important, but you've got to hold them, you've got to stick to them. So this is how I see it. A boundary is a lot like a line in the sand, and you've heard that terminology before. It's like, here's my line in the sand, here's my boundary. And this is how I live in every aspect of my life, especially with my kids. I'm very clear on what my boundaries, what my lines in the sands are. And in my world, if you stay on this side of the boundary, well, everything's cool. We're going to get along. Everything's going to be fine. Now, if you cross that line in the sand, you cross my boundary, then we're probably going to have a conversation, or at least then I'm going to decide what I want to do. So in the context of my relationships, how this played out, when I was with my ex-fiance, I had boundaries, or so I thought, but I didn't stick to them. How many of you there have said, I know I want to be treated a certain way. I know I deserve to be treated a certain way. Yet you're with a person who wasn't adhering to those standards. They weren't adhering to those boundaries, but you weren't holding them accountable, right? If you've ever been in a relationship where you've been with someone and you weren't holding them accountable, you were allowing them to walk across your boundaries, to not adhere to them, just go ahead and hit that like button. And again, the reason we do that is to show that, hey, you know what? I'm not alone. I'm not the only person who didn't adhere to or hold to my boundaries. I'm not the only one who allowed someone to treat me in a way that I didn't desire and deserve. And it just shows that we're all human and we all kind of go through the same thing. So those of you who are already doing that, it's awesome. I appreciate that. And so what I learned with my ex-fiance is that I didn't adhere to my boundaries. I didn't stick to them. I was saying one thing. I said that I deserved better and I wanted better. But at the end of the day, I was allowing her to get away with what she was getting away with. And for me, what it really came down to is that she wasn't there for me when I needed. I spent all the time focused on trying to make her happy, make the relationship work, that I wasn't getting what I needed in that relationship, and for whatever reason. So what I learned from after that is that I had to be really clear and concise on my boundaries. It's like, what is it that I'm looking for? What is it that I'm not looking for? So today, one of the things I want to do is I want to give you 3 guidelines to help you create clear and concise boundaries. So the first thing, and I'm going to be quite honest, I'm looking down, I wrote a little note card. Here it is. So just make sure I hit everything. So the first thing is that you got to be clear on what it is that you don't want, and that you don't want to tolerate. You know, one of the greatest gifts from my ex-fiance was that relationship, because it really helped me see what I didn't want from a relationship and from a relationship partner. And it helped me to get really clear. So basically, you need to identify what are your deal breakers. You know, that's what a line in the sand is like. This is my deal breaker. And if you cross that line, the deal is done. It's over. I'm walking away. And you've got to be able to, and you've got to be willing and strong enough to walk away. So the first step is you've got to be clear on what you don't want and what you will not tolerate. Be clear on those deal breakers. Now, the second thing you want to do is then ask yourself, is what I'm asking unrealistic or unreasonable? See, one of the things, like, you've got to be, like, really clear. Is this really a deal breaker? Is this something that, you know, I can live with, I can deal with? Or is it like, you know, there's no way that I can tolerate this. There's no way I can deal with this. And only you can answer that. Like, what were my deal breakers may not be your deal breakers. What may be Mary's deal breakers may not be Betty's deal breakers, and vice versa. So this is your job, is to get really clear on what your deal breakers. Now, I know there are some that are really obvious. So it might be, you know, if a guy does drugs, or, you know, he's cheating on me. Okay, yeah, okay, I get that. But what are those subtle ones? What are the ones that, you know, aren't going to be so clear and concise, but going to be the ones that, you know, you're going to have to question, and you got to get clear. And I'll give you a little hint, okay? Look at your past relationships. Look at those past guys that you were involved with who gave you, or who did things that you weren't cool with and that didn't make you happy. See, those are the clues on where to look. Those are the things where you have to say, you know what, that's my line in the sand now. That's my boundary. I will no longer tolerate that. I will no longer accept that. So life always leaves clues, and that's the purpose of that guy in that relationship. Okay? So again, the second part is asking yourself, is this unrealistic and is it unreasonable? Now, the purpose of this question is for you to decide, is this really a deal breaker? Like, is this really a line in the sand? Is this something that I can't and will not tolerate? Or is it just something that, you know, in the big scope of life, it's a preference, it's not a big deal, and I can deal with it, I can live with it, and I'd be okay. And again, only you can answer that, but you've got to be clear. Now, a big thing with this question is, I'm a big believer in never ask for something from a mate, from a partner, that you're not willing to be or you're not willing to do. So, for instance, I hear all the time, you know, I want a guy who has to be in impeccable shape. Well, are you in impeccable shape? Okay. If you're not, you know what? Then you got to look at that. You know, I need someone who's spiritual. Okay. Well, are you spiritual? Do you practice your faith? Do you go to your organized services or whatever? If so, great. But if not, you want to look at that. You know, I want a man with integrity. I hear that all the time. Well, do you have integrity? Now, I know your knee-jerk response is to say, yeah, I do. But do you really? Like, do you keep all your agreements? Do you honor your words? And when you don't, do you clean them up? See, I'm a big believer that, and we talked a lot about the energy of attraction, is that when you live a certain way and you are being a certain way, then you attract those types of mate into your life. The truth is, when I was with my ex-fiance, I was out of integrity with myself. I wasn't keeping my agreements to myself. I wasn't honoring what my heart desired. And therefore, I was in a relationship with someone who didn't have integrity. Once I got clear that, you know what, this is my line in the sand, this is my boundary, and I started having integrity with myself, then I started attracting people who had integrity. So I know this sounds like woo-woo and simplistic, but this is kind of how it works. So I want you to really understand that if you're going to ask for something, you have to be willing to be it, or you have to be willing to do it. Okay, so that's the second part. Now, the third question, and this is a big one. See, because everybody says, you know, don't do this, and then the guy does it. Well, don't do it next time. I'm serious. And then the guy does it. Well, I'm really serious. And then, you know, I'm walking away. And you'll walk away for a day or two, and then you come back. Okay, we'll test it out. Test out the theory. How many of you have been in a relationship with someone where he's crossed that line one too many times, and you said, that's it, I'm done. And you ended it, or you broke it off. And then the next day, the next week, the next month, you are right back in a relationship with that person. Come on, raise your hand, hit the little bike buttons, okay? I did it. You know, I did it for almost 2.5 of the 3 years. That's it. I'm done. We're over. I deserve better. She came crawling back. I went crawling back, and we were back in a relationship. So it happens, but we want to understand. And more importantly, we want to understand that when I don't adhere to my boundaries, I don't adhere to my lines in the sand, it doesn't lead to the relationship that I desire and deserve. That was the big aha for me. And that led to the third question. And what you want to do, or the third part of this formula in holding and defining your boundaries is to link it up to some type of pain. So in other words, if this person crosses my boundary, crosses my line in the sand, there's going to be some kind of pain for me in my life. See, we're emotional creatures. Everything we do as human beings, we do because it meets some kind of emotional need. And very often we go back to the person who crosses our line in the sand, who doesn't adhere to our boundaries, because we're afraid emotionally that we're never going to have the love that we really want. We're afraid we might not find somebody better. We are afraid we might not find somebody who is as good looking, find somebody who's as funny, somebody we have so many things in common with, somebody who's a great lover. It's some kind of fear. And we stay out of fear. So if you keep going back from a place of fear, you have to link more pain to staying than you do to leaving. So it's kind of like the scales of justice. You ever see the scales of justice, right? Where you have the two sides, where one side goes up and the other goes down. Well, that's what you have to do. You have to link up some kind of emotional pain to staying. Now, for me, the way I did that is I linked up that if I were to stay with the person who kept crossing my boundaries and didn't adhere to my lines, I was going to have more pain because I was never going to have the kind of relationship that I truly was looking for. I knew even if I had a relationship, it would be like the relationship with my ex-fiance. It would be a toilet bowl relationship, one where I was more unhappy than happy. And I promised myself I never wanted to have another one of those relationships again. So what I did is linked up more pain to staying in a relationship with someone who crossed my boundaries and my lines with the sand than I did to leaving. Once I realized that even if I never found the relationship that I was looking for, that I would still be happy and still have a great life, then it was easy. To walk away, it was like, okay, why should I stay? This person can't give me what I'm looking for. It's not going to be the relationship I really want. And also, I'm going to have more pain in my life by staying, so therefore I have to walk away. And as hard as it was for me to walk away from my ex-fiance, it became easy as pie for me to walk away from any woman in any relationship that wasn't giving me what I needed, i.e. living up to my standards and my boundaries. So these are 3 tips I really hope that you take on. You might want to go back and look at this again. You might want to write them down and really use this information again to transform your love life. Again, knowledge without action or implementation is simply a waste of time. You want to sit back, you want to take what you're learning, and you want to put it into action to create the results you desire and deserve. So, as always, there's always a little homework, always a little action step, because I want you to take this and put it into action. So, here's today's. So, I want you to take some mirror time. Again, step out of your life, take a good look in the mirror, and ask yourself, where have you not held your boundaries? And be really honest with yourself. And I'd love it if you'd share down below, in the comment section, where have you not held your boundaries in your life? But more importantly, because we're going to talk about the pain, what did it cost you by being in a relationship with someone where you didn't hold your boundaries, or you allowed them to cross your lines in the sand for whatever reason, whether you were afraid or whatever your reasons were? What did it cost you? What did it cost you then? And what is it costing you now because you didn't hold your boundaries then? Because that's the pain that you're going to link it up to. Okay. And then after you do that, I'd love it if you would just share your comments below, share what you've learned, share what you're going to do differently. Okay. And then the second part, now I see there are a couple of people here. So if you do have some questions, I'll hang out for a little while and answer those questions for you. But the second thing, as always, we're creating a movement here at GPS for Love. And I can't tell you how happy I am for those of you who have joined, those of you who are participating, engaging, commenting. I'm doing my best to really, engage as much as you as possible, to comment, to really connect with you on a one-to-one level in ways that I can't do for anybody other who are my personal clients. But it's a way of, you seeing and knowing that, I am here to support you and help you on your journey and give you some honest feedback whenever possible. So what I'm asking you to do, as always, is to simply hit the like button, Okay, because that tells Facebook that you're part of this community, and it helps spread the beacon of light, the GPS beacon, out into the world. To follow us. Now, if you're watching this on Facebook, there's a little button next to the like button that says following. If it says following, you've already done it. If you haven't done that yet, it says follow. Click on that, and then it will say following. Now, if you're watching this, because now what we're doing, we're getting really savvy with this stuff. We're actually posting it on YouTube for our YouTube fan base to watch over there. So if you're watching this on YouTube, instead of follow, what you do is you hit subscribe. Now, whether you're on YouTube or you're on Facebook, doesn't make a difference. Please share this video with anyone you feel who can benefit from it. If everybody just shares this with one person every time you watch it, by the end of the year, we're going to have thousands of people in our GPS for Love community, and that's really our goal. So that's my goal. That's my intention. So I see some of you have joined on. Now, if you have any questions, I'll hang out for another couple of minutes just to share with you. So let's see, allowing them. I see Debbie says allowing. Just some just ramrod through them, and it's not in the beginning. They wait sometimes a very long time saying deal breakers is a good idea. Thanks. All right, cool. So if you have a question about deal breakers, you want to share anything about deal breakers or anything else, I'll hang out here for another couple minutes. And again, those of you, Jackie, I see showed up from Menasha, Wisconsin. Oh, here's my wife. My wife joined in. Nice, lying at the lake with the boys while I'm sitting here doing Facebook Live. But I'm just rambling here because I'm getting used to watching these things, trying to talk to you at the same time. So you're just hearing me think out loud, which is what I do often. So that's it. So it looks like nobody's got some questions, which is good. So now we'll keep this clear and concise so people can just watch this, bang through it, get what they need to get out of it, and then go put it into action. So that being said, it is always an honor and privilege to spend some time with you. I'll see you in the next live stream in a few days. Go have an amazing day. Much love.